Kurevess was a Silmari historian specializing in precontact civilizations, studying species before they achieved interstellar travel, documenting cultural development, understanding how isolated worlds create unique perspectives. She'd spent years analyzing Earth through archival data, historical records, cultural artifacts, translated literature, and media. Earth fascinated her in ways her academic colleagues considered unhealthy. The Silmari Collective maintained strict protocols about Earth and humanity. Humans were considered volatile newcomers, a species that achieved space travel recently, whose cultures were fragmented and contradictory, whose history was marked by conflict, making them unpredictable partners. Official policy was careful distance. Work with humans in controlled coalition contexts, but avoid direct immersion in Earth cultures that might expose you to their destabilizing influences. Kira had been told repeatedly that Earth was dangerous, that human cities were chaotic, that their cultural contradictions would be overwhelming for someone raised in carefully ordered Silmari society. That direct exposure risked cultural contamination, compromising her academic objectivity. But warnings had only intensified her curiosity. She'd studied Earth's literature and found philosophical depth in contradictions. She'd analyzed their art and found beauty in diversity. She'd examined their history and found resilience in how they'd survived their own worst impulses. And she wanted to see it for herself, not through archival data or sanitized diplomatic visits, but actually experience Earth as Earth rather than as academic subject. The problem was that Silmari citizens required official authorization for non-coalition travel to Earth, and her applications had been denied repeatedly. Her academic advisors cited concerns about objectivity. Her government cited security risks. Then she met Marcus Webb, a human cultural liaison working with coalition institutions to facilitate human integration. Over months of working together on archival projects, they developed genuine friendship. Eventually, Kira asked the question that had been building: I want to visit Earth, not an official diplomatic mission with controlled itineraries. I want to actually see your world. Will you help me? Marcus's first response was to list all the complications. Silmari travel restrictions, cultural shock Kira might experience, Earth's diversity, meaning experiencing Earth, requires choosing which parts to show her. But he also saw how much this mattered to Kira, not just academic curiosity but genuine yearning. If I help you, Marcus said carefully, we need to be clear about what you're asking. Earth isn't one thing. It's thousands of cultures, billions of people, contradictory values coexisting. I can show you one human's perspective, but that won't be definitive. I know, Kira said, her skin showing determined hope. I've studied Earth's diversity. Any experience will be limited, but studying from distance only gives me theory. I want actuality, even if limited, even if subjective. I want to walk on Earth, see human cities, talk to humans in their context rather than sanitized coalition spaces. Marcus agreed to help. The logistics were complex, securing unofficial travel authorization through coalition cultural exchange channels, navigating Silmari bureaucracy designed to prevent exactly this, ensuring appropriate documentation and support systems. 3 months of coordination later, Kira boarded a transport to Earth with Marcus as her guide and sponsor. During the journey, Marcus prepared her. Earth is louder than most coalition spaces, more chaotic, less carefully organized. We don't have the centralized cultural consistency Silmari society maintains. Humans argue constantly, with each other, about everything. We create art other humans hate. We have philosophical contradictions we've never resolved. We're messy. Kira's skin showed excitement or nervousness. My people say this is why Earth is dangerous, that your chaos is destabilizing. But I've studied enough human history to know that your chaos is also your strength. That your ability to hold contradictions has produced philosophy, art, and science that more ordered societies couldn't create. Just remember, Marcus said, experiencing chaos firsthand is different from studying it academically. If you need to leave, if it becomes overwhelming, that's okay. Kira's first direct experience of Earth was landing at New Geneva Spaceport. The chaos Marcus warned about was immediately apparent. Multiple languages spoken simultaneously, people moving with purpose that looked like disorder, sensory intensity of sounds, smells, and visual stimuli that coalition spaces carefully moderate. Kira's skin flickered rapidly as she processed more input than she was accustomed to handling. But beneath the overwhelming sensation was also exhilaration. This was actually Earth, not archival data. Over following weeks, Marcus took Kira to places representing different aspects of human civilization. A bustling market in Marrakesh where humans haggled in multiple languages. The quiet intensity of Kyoto's temples where humans practiced traditions thousands of years old. The technological innovation of Singapore's research districts. The raw natural beauty of Patagonia. Each location challenged assumptions Kira had formed from academic study. Markets she'd read about as inefficient economic systems proved to be complex social networks where humans built relationships through trade. Religious traditions she'd studied as irrational belief systems revealed philosophical depth about meaning and mortality. Most significantly, Kira discovered that humans were remarkably willing to explain themselves. When she asked questions, often questions that would be considered rude in formal diplomatic contexts, humans responded with honesty. "Why do you maintain these contradictory philosophical traditions?" she asked a philosopher in Cairo. "Because no single tradition has all the answers," he replied. "We keep multiple frameworks because the questions we're asking are bigger than any one system. It's messy, but it means we don't prematurely commit to answers that might be wrong." "Why do you take risks that could fail catastrophically?" she asked an engineer in Beijing. "Because the alternative is never trying anything new. We've failed plenty, spectacularly sometimes, but we've also succeeded at things more cautious approaches would never attempt." After 6 weeks on Earth, Kira understood something archival study could never teach. Earth's contradictions weren't flaws to be resolved, but features enabling adaptation. Humans weren't chaotic because they're immature. They're diverse because their world required it, and that diversity creates resilience homogeneous cultures lack. She also discovered something personal. Her own Silmari culture's warnings about Earth weren't entirely about protecting her. They were about protecting Silmari society from acknowledging that their carefully ordered civilization might not be superior to human chaos, just different, with different strengths and weaknesses. When Kira returned to coalition space, her academic work transformed. She published research challenging Silmari assumptions about human development, arguing that Earth's contradictions represent legitimate alternative approach to civilization. Her work was controversial. Conservative Silmari academics argued she'd been contaminated, exactly what travel restrictions were meant to prevent, but younger scholars recognized what Kira described, that maybe careful order isn't the only valid path to civilization. Marcus said, "Kira wanted to understand Earth beyond archival data. I showed her my limited, subjective perspective, markets and temples, cities and nature, the contradictions we live with. I couldn't give her comprehensive understanding, because no one human has that. But I could show her that experiencing Earth directly reveals things studying from distance can't teach." Kira said, "I was told visiting Earth was dangerous, that human chaos would be overwhelming. What I discovered is that human chaos is sophisticated adaptation to complexity that more ordered societies try to eliminate, that their contradictions represent philosophical honesty about questions without single answers, and that fearing this chaos revealed more about Silmari cultural anxiety than about actual risks." Her skin showed contentment mixed with determination. "Curiosity opened doors my people tried to keep closed, not to protect me from danger, but to protect our comfortable assumptions about cultural superiority. Walking on Earth, experiencing the contradictions I'd only studied abstractly. That taught me that civilization has multiple valid forms, and that the Silmari approach isn't objectively superior, just familiar. Because they'd learned that academic study teaches theory, while direct experience teaches actuality. That warnings about dangerous influences often protect comfortable assumptions rather than actual safety. And that sometimes the most important discoveries require leaving safe distance and actually experiencing what you've been told to fear. Years later, when other Silmari cited Kira's work as inspiration for their own Earth visits, she reminded them, Earth isn't dangerous in the ways we were warned, but it is challenging. It challenges assumptions about what civilization should look like. That challenge is uncomfortable.